I said.
I would say greetings, this is Kabanka Pyramid representing the Lion Voice vlog. Make sure that them check it out and stay tuned. See? Ras Tafari blessings every time.
I said.
Well, Lion Voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion Voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion Voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion Voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion Voice. Well, this is the Chaz Match Kwasi and a Dutty Bookman sound. Well, we are here seated in the world's most preeminent military superpower, Washington, D.C. And on the Sabbath day, we gather at the Sankofa bookstore owned by filmmaker Haile Garima to study the words and teachings of His Imperial Majesty through the selected speeches. Enough time to see Dutty Bookman, and when him coming, this is what we all learned. Listen. Well, Haile Selassie he calling. Me see so dirty Babylon dear falling down. Haile Selassie he calling. See so dirty Babylon dear falling down. Haile Selassie he calling. Me see so dirty Babylon dear falling down. Haile Selassie he calling. Dutty Bookman give them a warning. Otto van Bismarck him get a beating. The boy divide the continent. Him and him friend them call a meeting. Wicked man them always cheating. Them wanna take the food out the youths them out when them eating. World resources depleting. I say you wake Mount Zion them a rob you while you sleeping. Still we have to bring the greetings from Jah Haile Selassie. There's no guy that can defeat him. Haile Selassie I calling. Me see so dirty Babylon they're falling down. Haile Selassie I calling. See so dirty Babylon they're falling down. Haile Selassie I calling. Me see so dirty.
Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of his chosen queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Bansu, aka the Chazmatch Kwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man. I'm a creative industry attorney, I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an actionist, and right now I am the host of the Lion's Voice. Welcome to the Lion Voice Network and welcome to Lion Talk Live. This is where we go live with people on the front line, across the Pan-African world, across the diaspora, focus on Ras Tafari, but we focus on anything that's going to make the world a better place. We want to talk to the people who are actually building Zion. Zion descending through humanity is really a concept that we're cultivating on this channel in terms of if we're born in Babylon, what is the alternative? You know, how do we conceptualize this alternative? How do we build the infrastructure for this alternatives? Because we just spend all of the time burning Babylon. Then guess what? When Babylon collapsed, we gone with it because we didn't take any time to build something that is going to sustain us in alternative to what we don't like. So this is not an anti-channel. We don't anti anything over here. We're pro progress, and that means certain things are unacceptable. Yeah, you see how we balance it? So tonight, we have a very beautiful program planned. It's very special to I. It's very seldom in life that you that one can meet a brethren and that brethren become family. Particularly when you get older in life, typically your family brethren them is brethren where you grow high school with and thing. But the most I have it sometime that you meet with ones and the connection just connect, you know. I've watched this brethren, youths them grow, his seed Iman youths them grow, queens them communicate, This is part of the building of Zion, because as we said, this Zion is the building block is the black family. So we have to connect families across borders, across creation. We just talked about, does Rastafari need a rite of passage? How do we look at these titles like the Chasmatch Ras? We talk about that. We just dropped the Lion Talk with Brother Junior from I Never Knew TV. So if you haven't seen that, go check that out. We were giving, some gems for people who want to do content creation. You know what I mean? So everything we're doing on this platform is about the building of Zion. So I want this reasoning to be put in that category, because one of the things that we know, and I'm putting on my hat as the reading Ras right now. One of the things we know is that books are for inner Zion. We can't depend on the internet, and not everything that's in books is on the internet. Counter to what they believe. Google is digitizing enough books, yes, but not everything is on the internet. So Rastafari must need its own book publishers. We talked to the legendary book publisher Sekou Tafari, Sekou Sankara Tafari, legend. We had him on the platform. We spoke to Ras Miguel Larn, Head Start Publishing. We had him on the platform. Now the time has come where we want to reason with another generation that has answered the calling, because these callings are out there. Big up I Nation too, in take on the book work. This calling is out there, but the ones who take it on, we have to salute them. And this is a brethren that I am honored to know. He's an author. You know what I mean? He's a family man. He's a selector. Him have some of the most serious the Chasmatch quasi dub collection right now. I tell him sit down on some artillery where it don't make sense. This imp, this imp, is a joy for I and I to just welcome Dutty Bookman. Welcome, my family. And we have a big up Ramia King Design sponsor, C Master sponsor. But Dutty Bookman, big up yourself. How's everything?
Blessing, greetings. Give thanks, man. Thanks for having me on the platform, brother. And everything is blessed, man. We have life, so we have to give thanks.
Yes. And we want to welcome the eye to the Lion Voice, Lion Talk platform. Dutty Bookman was also one of the founding members of the Association of Rastafari Creatives. Actually, that precise sound come from Dutty Bookman, and this is part of him gift. We're going to get into that. I'm not going to jump forward fast, because I introduced the eye to the Lion Pride, and anyone who subscribes to this platform, Bookman, we call them the Lion Pride. So I just making you're coming into an ecosystem here.
Makes sense.
What I mean? Make sure you put your questions in the comments. We know we have a regular commenters, so put your questions in the comments. We're going to have a nice reasoning this evening. So I want the eye to just, where was the eye born and the eye early journey?
Okay, well, I was born in a hospital by the name of St. Joseph's Hospital on Deanery Road, Kingston 3, Vineyard Town. And I lived right up the road on Deanery Road, same way. At a little apartment building called Crystal Apartments. And top floor, apartment 301, right beside the staircase. And spent my first 7 years there, went to school, 2 doors down. There was the apartment, there was the post office. You cross a little road and then you're at St. Teresa Preparatory School. And that was my first 7 years of life, but that one road, the only time I ever leave that place was maybe to go to the plaza with my mother or something, but I didn't know the rest of Jamaica for those first 7 years, to my knowledge, to my memory, I don't really know. So, moved on from there. I was very academically gifted, so I was encouraged by my mother to choose Campion College when I did the the common entrance exams. I really wanted to go to Woolmans, to be honest, you know, because by the time I was in grade 6, we had moved a couple years now to Meadowbrook Estate, and me and my brethren used to run road, and mommy, those are the days parents can let you out of the house and not worry too tough about you.
Yes.
And we're running up and down, and I ride bicycle miles away, and I come back, and anyway, all of my brethren them want to go Woolmans, so we are plan up now, and but she convinced me to put Campion first and Woolmans second, and I got into Campion, and then thus began the high school journey, and also it was very eye-opening for me going to Campion, because it was a whole nother demographic of Jamaicans now that I was being exposed to. And when you're among peers and you want to fit in and all of these things, you start to take on some of the uptown ways too, and so it was interesting because I had a lot of friends in different worlds, and one of the things that occurred to me really early in life was, sometimes let's say I want to have a birthday party, and you invite people from these different worlds, and sometimes the energy is a little bit odd in the space when everybody gets together, because of misperceptions about uptown and downtown, so it was something that stuck with me from them time there, and just to really be sensitive to everybody's worldview, and that you have an upbringing, and it's not really your fault where you grow up. You come into the world, and that's
it's very interesting, because I know most one's perception of the eye would be that the eye is an uptown youth, not knowing that.
I would say so, because the formative years, when we start go parties, be uptown party, and
socially, but not necessarily economically. You don't come from a lot of money.
No old money here. No, still so trying to generate the new money.
yes. We just want to make it clear, as we paint this picture. Where did the love of books come in? As a youth, were you reading, and what type of books were you reading? I want to get into the Bookman title.
Yeah, that's a great question, because as soon as you ask the question, my mind jumps straight to the books that I used to love, and that was the Hardy Boys. And that series made me want to be a detective. I always wanted to investigate, but it was always exciting, Frank and Joe always getting into these situations, and just their perception of things, it made me realize, how you can think about problems and solving problems and things. And I just got into that Hardy Boys world and tried to read them in order, in the best way that I could, because they were numbered.
Yes.
So every time I would go maybe a pharmacy with mommy, I check the little books. They have a little spinning book thing near the cashier, and you spin and you look through and you check the number, them and you say, no, I have that one there already. And
nice. Yeah,
by the time I finished with Hardy Boys, I went on to Nancy Drew, finished Nancy Drew, go on to this one named Babsy Twins. It was just a detective thing,
Yeah, I didn't touch it. I was more in the science fiction, fantasy. But I read 1 and 2 Hardy Boys, so I know exactly what they are speaking about. Talk to us about the journey now, up until this love of books, and now you're writing your first book. What was the inspiration? Did you know from that time, reading books, that you would want to become an author? Because I read the iBook, and it was very you painted a picture. You brought her into a time and space that was very powerful. What was that journey?
Well, actually, apart from those early days reading those books that I mentioned before, I think literature class at Campion really actually made me not like reading books as much anymore. I couldn't really get down with the Shakespearean language and all of these kind of things, There were some gems that came up in class that we really loved. Escape the Last Man Speak. The Chrysalids is an all-time favorite book of mine. So, you know, it was good to find some gems through that process. But for the most part, I didn't like reading. I could write well, but I didn't enjoy writing. And I would venture to say even now, the person that say they enjoy writing is a liar. You know, it's like, it's not an enjoyable process. You know, it's good for maybe self-therapy at times and stuff, and it heals you in a way, and you don't have to put out everything you write. But when you're trying to write for an audience now, it's not, to me, it's not something I really enjoy. You know, it's something that is more like a duty to me. So, you know, fast forward to after college, I went back to Jamaica. I was in college in Florida. I went back to Jamaica and, you know, really got immersed in just making my way in the world now, independent of, you know, elders telling you what to do. You know, obviously I still have my mother's guidance and such, but, you know, really starting to make my way in the world, and the experiences led me, I was very inspired by the life I was living and what I was being immersed in. And so that made me now decide to write a book, you know, and express all of that inspiration at the time.
And what was the journey? Because the book kind of coincides with your journey to Rastafari,
right?
Putting on a covenant, deciding to take on this because you're already in the uptown circle. That means that, you know, you probably could have had a much easier life, you know.
Yes.
If you had not chosen, you know what I mean? Why Rastafari?
Yeah, you're correct in that. I believe I could have had an easier start to life in terms of career. You know, my mother was she's retired now, but she spent all of her life, from she left high school, she spent her life in the bank. And by the time I came of age, she was very high in terms of position in the bank. And one word from her could have definitely got me into that world. And, you know, who knows where I'd be today. But that just wasn't my calling. You know, I just, I had become too socially aware during college. And even though I didn't use the term Babylon at the time, I was very hyper aware of the system around me is rigged in a way that is not for me. And yes, I could go in and contribute to it. You know, at the time, what I was initially studying, I could have ended up at NASA or Boeing or one of those huge aerospace technology companies or something like that. But I just didn't have that kind of interest. So going back to Jamaica was really a great move for me spiritually. And that started me walking this path to where I am even now and where I'm headed today. The initial steps of that journey included, actually working for a local casino in Kingston, which, you know, that was an experience that I'll never forget. I didn't enjoy it. And then the positive part now started to come in when I started working for the Marley family. Initially Rita Marley at the Bob Marley Foundation at the Bob Marley Museum. And that coincided now. That was what led me to Ras Tafari, because she had set me up in a little office inside the house where Bob used to live.
Okay.
They had a little library, and they were like, you know, trying to find somewhere to put me to do my work. And it was like, put him in the library, and, you know. So I'm in the library surrounded by books, and, you know, take a little break from work and I check out the shelf and whatever. And that's where I first came across the autobiography of His Majesty.
Okay.
So that was what made me look into this man and say, what a great man this is, you know.
Okay. So what were some of the remarkable things about His Majesty? Because, you know, very controversial, you know, this king from Ethiopia, and you putting all of this upon this little man. Yeah. You know, why, you know, or what things that stood out to the eye? You
know what stood out to me at first? Just his clarity of thought. Just something as simple as that. Because even before that, I was really enthralled by Che Guevara, and just how he was very clear in what he was setting down in his journals. And he was the first person that made me want to journal and made me start journaling. So by that time, I was already journaling. And then when I was reading His Majesty's autobiography, I was just saying, what I was really surprised at first. Why do I not know about this man? And I am 20-something years old. I live 2 decades on the earth, and nobody has really impressed upon me that this man lived on the same earth that I live in on, and king of a whole nation. And these are the things he had to grapple with. And these were his thoughts, and I was just, he had me from the first page, and so that now made me say, okay. And when I started to really understand that Ras Tafari is the name of a man, that was when I felt, okay, let me start twist up my hair and really pre this track, And then obviously I'm at the Bob Marley Museum, so the influences
That's a mystic.
around, we have some elders there. I must mention, Chicken, Paul, they were great mentors to me. Kojo, and you would reason with me during my breaks and just, very patient and tell me little things about the trad, and I was just, that was the beginning of it for I.
One of the things I love about Rastafari is that His Majesty put the people around you that you need at the time that you need them, because even in I'm an early trad, I remember some of the people I had to interact with and ask questions, and when you reflect forward, those were the perfect people for that time,
Yes.
So give thanks to know that you're coming through. The great Robert Nesta Marley, Brahani Selassie would always have to acknowledge the work, and the legacy of work is unquestionable,
Yeah.
right there. So in terms of the I, you start say Rastafari. What was the journey now that led you to leave Jamaica and come to Washington, D.C.? Because that's where I met the I, was Washington, D.C. What was that journey?
That journey, was one of, it just felt like two things. It felt like the time had come for me to make a transition. After about 4 years in Jamaica, really going through this initial part of my career, I was a tour guide at the museum. In recognition of how well I was performing, they moved me to Tough Gang to head up the tour department there. And then in recognition of that, they made me the communications coordinator for the Bob Marley Group, Jamaica Limited. So that included the foundation, the museum, and Tough Gang put together. And then now, towards the end, they offered to make me the marketing manager. But in the negotiations, it kind of fell through, and to me, it felt like a time to step back completely out of the group of companies. So I stepped back. I started doing my own public relations writing practice. So I was writing, I started building a clientele at the time. It was Don Corleone, because of my link with Protege. He gave me a chance to write press releases for when he was releasing songs. So that was very fruitful. And some other really, Michael Kushney, I think I worked with him a time or two. And so, I was starting to build a clientele. And then the second thing now that I must make mention of happened at this point, which was an old prep school friend of mine and I reconnected. We found each other on Facebook, and she was asking me some questions. And the way I was talking to her about life and things, she said, I have a friend and I think you would like her. At the time, I had just come out of a relationship. I had no interest in another one, but I just humored my friend. I said, yeah, man, just link with her. And you know, she went to the said friend and she said, I find your husband. This is how the legend goes, you know? And said friend also was not looking for a relationship, but as we speak, she's in the next room, you know, that is my,
Yes,
you know, so
Mama Sasha.
yeah, man.
And that's the joy, because we're going to talk about family life, because the building of Zion is about the building of families. So I'm glad you touched that point, because as we do the narrative, we want to show how the family, how you've been able to maintain a family, you know, with so many breakups and things we see over the years. So when we see brethren maintaining a family, when we see brethren with all of them youths under one roof, we want to reason with brethren and find out what they're doing, how you can, because we have a lot of younger races, younger Pan-African brethren who are coming up, how they can avoid some of the pitfalls, you know,
Yeah.
of that relationships and creating broken families, because rough times are ahead, family, and I keep saying it. And the ones who have that family support are the ones going to be the ones in better shape. But talk to I and I about the wonderful Mama Sasha and when she meet the heights, and you know what was that like?
Yeah, well, you start with the right word, you know, she's just really wonderful and she's a force to reckon with, you know, and yeah, so, you know, we connected during that time. That was around 2000, you know, the end of 2009, going into 2010. And like I said, I was just transitioning out of that first phase of career, and the possibilities were wide open. And she had just returned from her sojourn to Ghana. She had spent some time in Ghana, and she was back in the States, you know, where she spent much of her life. You know, she was in Washington, and it was somewhere I'd been before, and I really liked Washington, D.C. My earliest memory of Washington, D.C. was during college when I visited, and just how clean the public metro system was. And, you know, it was just nice to get around the city and look around and say, oh, it's a nice place. So, you know, fast forward, met Sasha, you know, check her a couple of times, and the fit was good. And, you know, we started to speak more seriously about, you know, building a life together. And, you know, I just made a decision to step away from Jamaica, even though things were, you know, I felt like there was good possibilities for me in Jamaica as well. But the choosing of the queen was really important to me, and this one seemed like the one. So I said, you know, I'm going to give this a shot and give thanks for the day, you know.
Yeah, man, you chose exceptionally well. One of the kindest souls, you know, Mama Sasha, that I have been blessed to encounter, you know. So really give thanks to see how the love has blossomed over the years. Does the I remember when I and the I first met, at what event, how that connection went?
No, man, the first time was when she was. So actually, little known fact, we came across each other during college years. She was the president of her Caribbean Students Association at her college.
Okay.
I was the public relations officer of the statewide umbrella for all the Caribbean student associations across Florida. And so, you know, we have biannual conferences and we would see each other and whatever. I remember her face, she remember mine. You know, the way she tells it, the memories associated with my face is not good. You know, I was definitely not her type.
That's how it goes sometimes, you know?
Yeah, man, I was not her type. And
yes.
And you know, I don't remember feeling any butterflies or anything seeing her as well, you know, but nice girl from them days there, you know?
Yeah, man.
And but so fast forward now, the first time we see each other now in the flesh again, after reconnecting sometime over the internet, she came to Jamaica. And I don't remember if it's me asked her or she asked me, but it was arranged that I must pick her up at the airport. So that was, you know, I just remember seeing her walking towards the car when I pulled up, and it was just like the movies, you know, everything around her blurry, and it's like the music.
Yes, as the music. Yeah,
Yeah, man, it was a great moment, and
yes,
it's like
Mystic.
smeared in the memory, you know. So
Yeah. You know what I want to ask there? Were you on your mission at that point when you connected, or were you still kind of just out there drifting? Because this is important for young brethren. I want to paint this picture for the younger brethren.
yeah, man, from okay, the whole reason why I left the United States to go back
Yeah,
to Jamaica was mission oriented.
mission
Was
driven.
it was here is the energy of my youth, my nation, Jamaica, that I love so much. I'm
Hmm.
going to go there and present myself and make my way in a way that I can be of use to this society. And that now evolved into a Rastafari oriented mission. Musically, you know, music started to come in. You know, those are the early days of me starting to work with Protege, for instance, Janine, you know, and so the mission focus was already in play. You know, you don't
Okay.
know all the pieces yet, but I was already kind of laser focused.
And that's important. I know Mama Sasha was with the mission, so there was an alignment there.
Yeah, man, for sure. And of course, she has her own mission as well, and they are complementary. You know, she's a very, I mean, she should be interviewed. I'm waiting for the day that she's interviewed. You know, she,
Don't wait too long, you know. Mama Sasha, you just hear say follow up interview will come.
yeah, man, you have to
Because
really,
once you say it, you know, because where was she coming from? She was coming from Ghana, you say, you know. Remember, you tell her that, you know, that is before Beyond Return, you know. That
yes,
is before Year of Return, you know. What year are you talking about? When
that was '09 or thereabout.
you
Yes.
see me I say? So in front of the wave, frontline soldier, you know what I mean? Mama Sasha. And as you said, I tell Mama Sasha that the booking is going to be coming, the booking request. We want to get her side of the story. So talk good today, Bookman, because we're
Yeah, man,
gonna get
of
Mama
course.
Sasha's side of the story. So in terms of you're chatting on the mission, talk a little bit. We've talked about the reggae revival before, but for ones who are not familiar, we have viewers from all over creation. Ethiopia is our second highest demographic, you know, and Jamaica third, the UK. Talk to us about the reggae revival, what that energy was, why you chose to create that word sound. Because for ones who don't know, Dutty Bookman was the one who coined the term reggae revival that, you know, went global and created a whole firestorm in the media who was for it. You know, it created a discussion that right now I see starting to percolate once again, you know. So talk to us about what was that journey like?
Well, as I said, I was really immersed in something special at that time in Jamaica, and um, I was not the only one who felt it. You know, everybody. It was just one of those things that's obvious. It was a zeitgeist moment, you could say. You know, and everybody was very excited, and I had always been sometimes quietly, sometimes vocally critical of the media because I just felt like the media kind of takes things, spin it really violently, you know, and then spit it out in whatever direction it may go. And I wanted something more careful. I knew that thing was going to be noticed. Let me say that. It would have been noticed with or without me coining a term. But what I felt was that somebody else who did not belong to the movement would have coined the term, and I felt that would have been wrong. So actually at my book launch, my first book, I did it on Hope Road in Kingston at a place called Bookophilia. And very well attended, standing room only in the end. I use that opportunity to suggest that, you know, most of us here in this space know what is happening. Let us give it a name. And I suggested a name, and then it became what it is, you know, shortly thereafter. But that was at the end of 2011. it took about a year and a couple months up until February 2013 before the mainstream media started to publish anything about the reggae revival. And that was thanks to actually journalists from Germany, some really serious reggae journalists who I greatly respect, from Rhythm Magazine.
Yeah, man, big them up. I know them.
Ellen and Pete
Yes,
are,
Ellen and Pete. Big
yeah,
up
man.
Ellen and Pete.
Yeah, man. They're the most genuine. They made me realize, okay, not all the foreigners are ill-intended, you know? And that was the beginning of the mainstream journey, you know? And so, yeah, it took me places, you know? It made me go to Europe for the first time. I went to Rotterdam and spoke about it and things like that.
I want to be honest with you, Bookman. Most of my viewership is over 40. Some of them don't never really follow the reggae revival. Who were some of the names that were associated, just so we can, in the early days, you know, we know it's expanded, but in that foundation period, who were some of the artists that were prevalent? And we also have to make it clear, it wasn't just the artists, it was the cinematographers, it was the cameramen, it was a whole energy that rose up. But who are some of the names?
Yes, so you correctly said it was really an arts movement, the arts and cultural movement on a whole. And the music led the way, you know? So the names that people most associate, the ones that I would definitely say are from that foundation period. Obviously, we have to give our flowers to the ones before and the ones who were laying groundwork even at that time, who may not be spoken about as much. So, you know, like you had a robust underground live scene that was already happening. So you had, I mean, Roots Underground, Dub Tonic, those bands were really doing great things, you know, the Uprising Roots. On their shoulders now came Protege, Janine, and I would have to mention the Nomads as one of the key foundation live performing groups of the time. So for me, those three were the ones that generated the excitement. When we used to go out to a place called Jamnesia for these bi-weekly events, the way that people stay at Jamnesia and don't drive back from Bull Bay to town is you keep Protege, Janine, and the Nomads till the end, till 4 o'clock in the morning. That's how people gonna stay, you know? Because when them finish perform, people are ready to go. No disrespect to the other ones, but you know, they were the most, let's say, seasoned for the stage, you know? So they were the most exciting to watch at the time.
And I want to just say that, you know, I caught a piece of that energy. You know, I came down to Jamaica in that time period. I went to some of these early events, you know, a little bit later than them early days. But you're right, you could feel that there was an energy that was really there. My theory, this is my theory. I in Jamaica, anytime the youths them embrace His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I, it creates a cultural explosion. Because if you look at, you know, even the time with Sizzler, Anthony B, Capleton, Bujo, you know, you could have called that the same type of energy. It's just that within this evolution, the time that we came in, where the technology, because one of the parts of the reggae revival is that the imagery that was coming, you know, to us in the diaspora was so clean. We were used to the VHS video from Jamaica where a man, a skank, and, you know, we used to get them tape there, and then all of a sudden now this was a new era. You know, you're seeing like almost like tourist board quality visuals that are accompanying these young youths that were creating these sounds. And even people like Iman who are a little older, you know, it kind of reinvigorated Rastafari internationally, I would say, which I think reflected in the audiences coming out. And this is something that we as Rastafari have to accept. There is a demand for those praises to His Majesty, because I'm not seeing that same energy now, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're seeing it reflected in the demand for reggae globally. The rise of other genres. But this is I would love to get the eye sound as someone who was there from that time, how the eye kind of see things.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying definitely has credence, whenever, because people even always, one of the contentions that people had about the reggae revival word song was warm to the previous reggae revival,
Yes.
and it always go back to some point where is that heights of the Rastafari consciousness penetrating mainstream, so it was just, I think that particularly this reggae revival, I think maybe that ones who expressed disappointment, that the same ones today are not maybe singing about Rastafari with the same fervor. I think that they're not recognizing that this generation is a little bit different in that we are more desirous and more inclined to want to live out the fullness of our human journey and not be judged for it. So there is less of a fear that if you don't sing about Rastafari today, you will be perceived as not Rastafari. It don't really affect them as much anymore. You get me? Nobody has that fear of not being called Rastafari, because at the end of the day, the Rastafari is their personal. As His Majesty himself said, your religion is personal and the state is for all. So that was something I had to grapple with, because the rhetoric that I was using to help support the reggae revival movement was very Rastafari infused.
I remember I was
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
And because it was also coinciding with the peak of my Rastafari learning,
Yes,
So that's what happens. And then when you obviously learning never end, but when that influx of knowledge and thing not inspiring you that intensely anymore, then you still have these other aspects of your human life that you want to express about. So I had to come to terms with that. My close friend them who me I try to say, yo, want to sing about His Majesty again or whatever, but it's like, yo, understand, say, yeah, them living out them human life, and yeah, they came in their time and did so. It's like they made a contribution and they did what they were to do at the time, and the rest of us should also carry our weight and carry the movement. It's not just the musicians.
Well, this brings us to the Association of Rastafari Creatives, because what I saw creating, being one of the co-creators of the Jamaica Music Conference, is that within the creative industry, Rastafari, we don't have any centralization. There's no organization to support when these revivals, because even if we look at Bob, Jacob Miller, Dennis Brown, those were youths when they were rising, and they were chanting. So when we look at Jamaica's culture, these are successive waves, that continue to rise anytime. It's not exclusive to any one group. Any group of talented youth will grab upon His Majesty. The thing, it explodes. This has been proven time and time again. Every now and then you get a spark fly out,
Yeah.
But I think that as a community, I think we a little bit, fearful of that power, because once you take it on, as you said, people are judging you every move you make. They expect you to maintain that level of His Majesty and these things, and people want to live their life and these things. But I'm a firm believer or a firm worker that follow the blueprint, that we need institutions to really support the creative. We can't leave it to happenstance, because the economics of the business also is a very serious factor, because if you have to, for example, keep a band working, you know what I mean? You have to maintain, and there's no, the community can't offer you an economic alternative. You're going to do what you have to do, stay on the road, to make music that you feel is going to hit these markets. And so even if you write in Rastafari songs, those might not be the songs that are being pushed out there, because of the economic journey. I understand that because we're in the business, you know what I mean? So, for our generation, I think we can't blame the youths. Peter Tosh said that. What we have to do is create that alternative economy so that the youth then would have a free runway when that next wave come, or when those brethren are ready for forward again upon that energy. There's a free waterway, highway, where a man knows, say, yeah, man, African continent, and we're touring and we're doing stadiums and the money is right, and, Asia, South America, all of these South connections and things that we know that exist but need connection and need the community input can be there. So talk to us about, why I felt it was important to be a founding member of the Association of Rastafari Creatives, and even the inspiration, because I think we were calling it the Rastafari. What were we calling it at first?
We had so many early ideas. A lot of ideas were swimming around, and I think we zoned in on a really good one,
Yeah, man. And it was the I. But what, why? Because you're a busy man. We're going to get to Bookman Publishing. Don't worry. We're going where the conversation carry us. But why, seeing that journey? Because that was after the reggae revival. This is COVID.
Yeah.
You have 1,000,001 things to do. We're going to talk about Haile Selassie's Ethiopia and the strength that I gave with that project. But why take the time to do ARC, or Association of Rastafari Creatives?
Well, a quick answer is really the I, Kwasi. No, seriously. Because, as the I know, I've always been generally willing to volunteer my time to support Rastafari community works. That is just something that I was always inclined to do. And over time, as ones know in this trad, it's easy if we run up in a fire, and we like to burn fire on each other sometime when we're trying to get together, and so it gets exhausting, but because it was the I who personally reached out to me and said, I am interested in doing this association to bring together Rastafari creatives, that made me give it serious start, because I knew it was going to be led by the I, at least in the initial phases, and so I was willing to come along that journey, because as you rightfully say, and this is something that I will always give the I credit for, Kwasi, is you always stress institutions. Even from the earliest time of reggae revival, when I and I were reasoning on that, you always used to say, all right, but let's use this energy and get the youths them to join the Rastafari Youth Initiative Council and all of these things, because you always was harping on that as the important thing, because as you rightfully say, waves come and go. We have ebbs and flows, but those are the things that create the permanent stability to move the nation forward incrementally. And that is His Majesty mindset right there. So I always have admired the I for that mentality, for doing the unglamorous work that it takes, and being a connector for the Rastafari community at a relatively young age, that was really what pulled me in, that the I personally invited me to come and do it. So and yeah, I honestly don't remember how the name came about. I do remember that I had a key part in deciding, but I think it was really the acronym that everybody liked, when we started to say ARC, and we say, all right, now we can work with that.
Yeah, man, it was that was very touching. Give thanks for the I. It's an honor to have the I, help to strengthen ARC, and that institution continues to evolve and to develop, and we're still very hopeful and confident that the artists will rally, you know what I mean? We are in the process. ARC has now become a founding member of the Ras Tafari Mansion and organization in Jamaica. So, the consolidation that we know is so necessary, the institutions that we know are so necessary are being built. And that's why I tell people that Rastafari greatest days are ahead. So I don't worry, when I see brethren, sorting out life and doing what they have to do. I know that His Majesty have a greater plan than all of us. I've been treading this tread long enough to know, and not to be foolish to think that I know the whole plan. I just try to fulfill my part and try to be obedient to the calling. So talk to I and I about Haile Selassie's Ethiopia. You know what I mean? Why did I want... hold on. Before we go there, so let's talk about Bookman Express. I was a rebellious youth. You write tried and true. Book launch in Kingston, it sell off. Where did the name Bookman come from too? Before we even got Bookman Express, why you choose that type of revolutionary name?
I chose that name. The name really chose me. The name chose me because I was actually called Dutty as a nickname during high school, going right through college. Don't even know how this name come to me, but I was Dutty in circles, and later on in life, I just stumbled upon the information about the Haitian Revolution and learned about this. It was a very prestigious magazine that had the word Dutty in there, and I was like, this not make no sense, cause how them know them word there, how this end up in a big prestigious Life magazine, and see Dutty Bookman and start say, okay, wait, who is this man? Go into a whole night of intense research, and by the time I come up for air out of that research, I was like, wow, I myself was going through a personal revolution, and this is a very, very key revolutionary icon that is little known. I already have half of the name. It just seemed to align. It's like the name say, all right, just take on the Bookman part and use me. And that was it. I just say, all right, that's my name from now on in public. That's my pseudonym, that's my pen name. That's what I'm going to be known as. And that's how I would like to be referred.
And was it related to your love of reading? Because Bookman was the original Dutty Bookman was a literate man, very well read, very well literate. Was that part of the inspiration? Was there a connection, or is that just serendipitous?
No, yeah, it was definitely a part of it. It was it's like when you hear a bad piece of lyrics and it's a double or a triple entendre. You say, yo, I mean that, but him said that, but that part, it's like everything just made sense. Every angle I look at it, I was like, but I mean that, like so. Yes. I say, all right, let me just take it on. It was very easy for me to make that decision.
So from Bookman, Dutty Bookman, what inspired the eye? You do the launch in Kingston, you sell off, you run things in the book world for conscious books. What made you not just focus on writing books and getting published? Why take that entrepreneurial step to say you're going to create a book publishing company and start working with other authors?
I think the spirit of service that was in me, because actually the decision was not after I launched the book. It was actually before I even wrote the book.
Okay. So talk the things.
Yeah, man, the company was set up before I even published the book. So my first book is my first book on my own publishing company.
Nice.
Well, let me say, the spirit is not all altruistic. The spirit of service is definitely a high, significant part of it. But also it was that I would rather, at the time, I would rather not pitch my book to a big publishing company that coming from some old colonial money and have them have the rights to my book, when I can just do it myself. And as you mentioned before, we're living in this time of technological advance, and people, these were the early days of people realizing you can self-publish books, now everybody is doing it, and it's a good, I encourage people to do it if they have that time and energy to do that for themselves. I encourage that, because that was how I felt at the time. It's good to have control of your own narrative and deal with it that way there. So I set up the company, put out my story, and then started now. Well, I spent a good amount of time learning what it feels like to be an author. So going through the motions of doing talks, presentations here, lecture at university there, bring your books them, set up your table, sell book, pack up, go home, count up your money, and keep it going, and so I got to really feel what it's like to be an author, and then I started actively looking now for other people to publish, just to look for talented youths who have things to express. And did a few of those over the years and learned more lessons about working and collaborating with other authors, and then now entering now into a phase in this time where we're really now starting to think about what type of books will really characterize the catalog of Bookman Express. So whereas before we were open to various things because it was good for the practice, and also we believe in free expression, and so we want to, at least we have that on our record, that we encourage freedom of expression, but also because of our resources, which are limited, now we have to be very much more intentional about what it is that our catalog represents. So that's where we kind of starting to go in that direction now and feed it out, and we established a children's arm or imprint called Sapling Books, and so far one book is out, and within this next couple of weeks here we're going to announce the second book. We're very excited about it, and we're trying to really put some focus on the children's arm and build that catalog as well.
I will definitely have you on Lion Talk, which is our pre-recorded show. Once the book drop, we can do something and even show some images from the book, and
Yes,
I can get some clips. One of the reasons that I started this platform is because I also realize we need to build an audience for the type of work that we're doing, audiences that we control. And one of the things I will be doing is really connecting all of the Ras Tafari media now that I'm in media. And that's one of the missions that we identified as ARC, is to really build up a database so that we can aggregate all of these resources, so that people like I have an audience that's willing to purchase those books. The people who are looking for that type of content, we need to have them in one place where we can send them an email blast anytime we're doing anything. We can communicate direct to consumer. And again, check out my interview with Junior from I Never Know TV, talking about the direct to consumer age that we're in right now. So you're putting your market together. Why would you choose a book like Haile Selassie's Ethiopia? You've gone tried and true. You had Ian Tech Flight. Why you go Haile Selassie Ethiopia?
because I have always wanted to add to the overall worldwide canon of publications about the Rastafari experience. And we've had a fair amount of people pitch books to us, but I always found that they were either repeating things that were already known about Rastafari. You know, you could pick books at random that explain and give people that kind of crash course about what Rastafari is and whatever. And so I didn't want to, again, knowing that we have limited resources, I want everything that we do to count, you know, to add something new to public discourse. And when the eye showed me that manuscript and the way in which that you crafted that narrative, first of all, that was enthralling. And then all the information that you pull together, obviously from years and years of research, and the way you pull it together made me immediately know. I said, this is the one, you know, not because he's my brethren. I would have many brethren who I would say, boy, brethren, I'm gonna pass on that one here, you know, and just kind of keep it moving. But this was one I said, no, man, this have to go on. You know?
Yes.
This have to go on.
And I can say that the editing process, because, you know, I hired Bookman as an editor, and for those authors, you know, I provide that service. I talk about that and give the ones them the communication. It was very helpful as a writer to go through it. Bookman, he would go through the paragraphs, mark up why you said this, do you need to say that, cut out that, you know, all of these things which, you know, as a writer, you want to keep your baby together, but it's also very liberating, you know, to have the thought clarified and to really get someone who can walk through so you can really sharpen the narrative. And we went to, you know, a couple of different rewrites, additions, you know. I also have to big up Mama Sasha, who also went through, and her notes are also invaluable. I said the man married the right queen. Me never joke with it, you know, right there with our king man. And, you know, that was such a pleasurable process. Talk to I about the editing process and that service that the I provide.
Yeah. So yeah, editing, especially for a book of that nature, is well, most books, but especially for such a research-intensive book where you have all, you know, you have sources that you're citing and all of these things. You have to really be concerned about the clarity of what you're saying and also the accuracy of what you're saying, you know. And so it's always good in general to have somebody proofread before you put out works like that, you know. Editing now, you know, it's specifically what we were doing is called developmental editing, which really, as you say, that's where you really have somebody suggest rearranging words, removing things, adding, you know, identifying gaps in the narrative and saying you need to address this thing a little bit more between here and there because it's not connecting, or you need to shift this chapter over here, you know, think about this and that. And so yeah, I have always been, I do that naturally when I'm reading or checking or even just talking to somebody in a regular conversation. Sometimes I'm just editing them, you know, like it can be annoying to some people.
It's a gift.
You know, so yeah, it was a learning process for me too, because I've never edited a book of this volume, you know, before. The attention span that was required and the time that I had to carve out was something else, you know. I'll never forget it. It was a slightly traumatic experience.
Because you had to read it a couple times too, don't it?
Yeah, because you'll never catch everything the first go, you know. So
yes.
So, you know, even my first book, I think I read that over 13 times before I put it out, you know.
Wow.
So, and it still wasn't perfect. To the point where the other day I just finally said, let me discontinue this. So it's no longer available. I can't bear to sell Tried and True first edition anymore.
Really?
So, yeah, man, it's out. It's out of circulation.
So my copy is $1 million thing you tell me I sit down pan because
yeah, man. And we have a handful left where we are go maybe reintroduce them down the line at a premium price, you know.
Yeah.
But the second edition is actually coming out, Jah willing, at the end of this year as well. So
Okay, give thanks
yeah, man.
to know that.
Yeah,
And
man.
again, this is the platform. So by that time, this will be of grown substantially. The eye is welcome on the platform because we're not going to stop because the Lions have to tell their own story. We're committed to that. So that means that your hard drive was loaded though with facts about Ethiopia, having to read the book so many times.
Yeah, and remember you had some sources, because I have to check sources because sometimes
Yes.
you're quoting things and I have to make sure what you're quoting is the right edition you're quoting from and you say you're quoting from. And I went to the local library and some of these books, them have to call them special collections unit and say, oh, send the book over, because somebody up here need it, and them book they need it back by a certain time, so you have to get in immediately as you get the book, because them a look back for it, because it's so rare,
Yes.
So I realized you had done some serious research just by some of those sources, and like I say, the editing process just made me learn more because I had to check the facts, so the facts now became more ingrained in me, during that process.
Do you think that it solidified your worldview in terms of Rastafari more, or how did it impact? Because I wrote it, even though it's generally for everyone can full enjoy it, and some of my best comments have been from Ethiopians who read the book and are so glad to see their history portrayed in that way. But for the eye coming from Jamaica, what as a Rastafari brethren, how did the narrative impact the eye?
I think that I wouldn't say it did. I wouldn't say it did much in terms of specifically. Maybe it did. What it really did for me was help me solidify what I kind of knew within myself about the interconnectedness of world events, and how that tied to the Rastafari story. So, like I said, it was so good to see how you laid out all the facts and how you told the story that honestly, even a teenager or a child would be interested in how that unfold, how you unfold the story.
Yes. So just to give some context, what he's talking about, for example, the second chapter with Ghana, Germany, it opens in the Berlin Conference, and talking about what was happening with the Berlin Conference, and so even though it's the story of the birth of His Majesty, it's a global story because there are so many things that to set that tone.
Yes.
Of this baby boy being born in the last little independent space on the African continent. Yes. We had to paint that picture. So that is what Bookman is talking about. And we're going to push to get that animated. I really
it must
see
be
animation. I've been speaking it into fruition. I'm going to be reasoning with Professor Ashley Hamilton, Mama Faraika's son. We're gonna try work out an interview. He's in charge of animation over at UE, but we're gonna try see what we can do because there's so much I want to do with this platform in terms of telling these stories and animation. I love. I don't know if the I see Into the Spider-Verse, and some of the things with them I do with animation right now,
Yeah.
But I'm imagining using that to tell African stories. You know what I mean? That's how my brain work. How do I feel about things like that?
Yeah, well, we actually, we spoke about that even in those times, and I'm definitely 100% for that. I think it, and like I said, the way you told the story, obviously, you're inspired by that kind of visual expression because you wrote it visually. So it's almost already easy to turn it into a script,
Crucial. And just let the people know how if someone wanted to hire the eye as an editor or developmental, or what's the other type of editing? You said developmental. What's the other type?
You have various types, but the one that most people are familiar with is copy editing, where you just really want somebody proofread your work, check the spelling them, make sure say your T is crossed and your I is dotted, and your comma is your comma is, if it's not supposed to be a comma, you turn it into a full stop or whatever. But that's very basic, you know. But developmental editing is if you're really serious about how your book unfolds from cover to cover in terms of the narrative. So yeah, I'm available, you know. It's a service that we do offer through Bookman Express, and you know, as more work come in, I may get other people who I trust to take on some of that load. But for now, I don't have that much editing work. So if somebody wanted to link me now with a project, you know, they can link me and we can talk about that. And, you know, I'll tell them the price and we go from there.
Yeah. Big up Michael Kushney in the comments.
Yeah, man.
Reggae Revival. What the culture looks like when we all singing the same tune. Because that was, I'm glad you said that, because that was a key element. And same thing with the different waves in Jamaica, because when you look at the early Sunsplash and you see a stage with Baba and Jacob Miller, and I said, this thing legendary, you know.
And Twinkle Brothers and them people there.
You see me, I say, you can't believe that so much was in one place, and then you fast forward and you see Capleton, Sizzler, Luciano, and you see Garnet, Silk, Tony, you know what I mean? So this is something that I think as Jamaica, we need to find a way to harness this. We have not done that as a community, to really use that explosion, that wave, to really help to build the schools, the healthcare centers, you know, fulfill the creed in the way. Because who's to say a hospital have to be this long, dark place? Why we can't have more glass and some plants, and you get ital food, and you know, you open up some windows and you get some sunlight. These are the things Rastafari should be developing right now as we build Mount Zion. You see me, I said, Bookman, is a whole new way of looking at everything. And the creative industry, I see it as one of the funding engines, you know what I mean? Of the nation. How you see it?
Yeah, of course, man. The creatives are the ones who, I would say, record and inspire. You know, that's a good portion of the work of the creatives. You know, so definitely, you know, and even on the note of all the hospital, you know, I must make mention of like a man like the Honorable Priest Kailash,
highly,
you know, who I have personally benefited from his techniques in the sector of health. I've been to his space in St. Lucia, and we have a book with him as well, stemming out of an experience there.
Talk about that, please. Talk about that book.
Yeah, man. The book is called The Rising of the Gods, From Man to Sovereign Creator. And it really is a focus on the king man coming into his God self, and what all of that entails, you know. So it is a mind, body, soul look at how you build up yourself for this trad in Babylon, you know.
And it's a visual book too. Talk about that. You know, the decision to, this is a little bit different than the typical books that I publish.
Yeah, this is the first, we would say, ganja table style book. You know, the traditional people may say the coffee table book, and we had the pleasure of actually collaborating with Ras Tafari and Frontline Publishing, who gave great assistance to the project as well. You know, so as a advising co-publisher, you know. So
I want the people to know that we're connecting the dots. You see how the dots them are connect, because Raseko was here, Bookman is here, links are make. So just because you don't hear Rastafari out there shouting, just know that the thing is coming, you know, the
Yes, sir.
uprising is rising. Make sure you subscribe to the platform if you have not done so already. Because right here we're gonna be highlighting the development. No mix up on this platform, no blender. We're dealing with the building of Zion. Bookman is talking about the archive because you know the publishers are the ones that are gonna publish and make sure that we have our own history that is owned by I and I, so we cannot underestimate or you know appreciate love the role that the I played. Ones like Sekou, ones like Ras Miguel, who are actually publishing the work, taking the time, and I want just commend you on the quality of this book. You know, a lot of ones talk about the physical quality. It makes Simon proud. You know what I mean? That it's a black-owned business. You know what I mean? Rastafari brethren business, but the quality don't have to, you know, try. I don't have to stutter and talk about, you know, get explainer
Yeah.
when I give a man the price of the book. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or you go somewhere, but yeah, I have to big up the eye for that because the you know the eye is very meticulous, and is that intentional in terms of looking for the quality materials and things that part of your calculus.
I would say, and I would have to give credit to Sasha for quality assurance. You know,
Okay.
we've learned lessons along the way. You know, there are books where we put them out and you know we see them on a bookshelf in a bookstore and we cringe. We say, "Ah, we really put out that." You know, like but the learning. You know, we give thanks for every moment, and I think the eye caught us at a good time. You know, having learned many lessons and you know, not also for the eye spirit and the eye patience is important because sometimes the author want to rush you. You know, the author want you're excited about putting out your work and you don't realize that from the moment you send us the manuscript, it could be upwards of a year or more before that book is actually out. You know, you have to be really willing to go through the process with us. You know.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, man, the eye has always been a pleasure to work with from the start, and even post publishing. Or you know, the eye is one of our best experiences as an author, pushing his work, and because that is really how books sell. You know, we can help with a little initial push, and you know, as we build out our distribution channel in the years to come, you know, we'll be able to offer even more support in that way. But really, in today's day and age, the author is the one who, when the author mentioned the book, invariably you see some more sales coming, you know. So the author has to be willing to do that work. And we've been with some authors who they just were about the expressing on paper and not necessarily ready to put in that work of going out there and stuff. So it wasn't as fruitful. But the eye has been a pleasure to work with in that regard.
And we're just getting started, Bookman. I hope you're ready when the wave coming, you know, because the wave will come. We promise die that a bestseller, you know. So
yeah, man.
we're just getting started. I view culture, respect, brothers, appreciate of what I go on, big up. That's Ras Icho, you know.
Give thanks,
Yeah, man, big up, and please go to the Brethren channel, I view culture on YouTube. Yeah, them can see it right there and subscribe and follow the Brethren. Also, you can take in his interview when we talk about, you know, music and badness. One of my favorite interview, you know. We go down a Maxfield and get some history, you know. Very powerful narratives and stories. You know, the lions are telling their stories. So we give thanks for the love that we feel. Before I forget though, what was your favorite part of Haile Selassie's Ethiopia? Because I want to sell 2 books on this live, you know.
Well, like I said, the anchor of the narrative is what is my favorite because you always find a way to bring back the birth story. and maybe it's a special favorite for me because of knowing the eye personally, and when we would go to, Coronation Isis or His Majesty Earthstrong Isis, I would always take a moment and gather everyone, around the tabernacle and recite the story. And when I saw it in the book, I realized, oh, the man has been practicing the narrative all these years for the book, So it was good because even it just brought me back to those times when we would be at ISIS and you're telling the story and, you're explaining the Kefu Ken and the drought and, the day His Majesty was born, the torrential rainfall that just brought water back to the land and the lightning strike and he's the one to be feared, and I say, so I take a special pleasure in seeing that in the book.
Give thanks. And make I feel so ilaful. And what is the next book? You said Tried and True. It second edition is coming. What is different in the second edition?
Yes.
From the first? Because the first really details the eye journey, some of the early reggae revival. What is the second edition about?
Well, the key thing with new editions is really fixing up grammar. You don't really change the narrative structurally too much, or else it becomes a different title. So really it was me just over the years seeing things in there every time I read it back that it not read as good as I thought at the time. Maybe I didn't need an editor, I never I did self-edit, and I still self-edited this one. This is one book where I will always self-edit. I don't want anybody else to touch this particular book, this coming of age story of mine. Only me can tell a story this way, So, but fixing up a lot of grammatical errors that I did not like from before, and there's a new foreword by Donisha Prendergast.
Okay, big up Donisha. We soon get Donisha on the platform too.
Yeah, man. I must give thanks to her because she's been one of my greatest sister in arms from them time that till now. And never say no to a request, So I asked her, and it took a while, but she made the time. We all know Donisha's busy schedule. She's a very active person, and she made the time for me to to give me a nice foreword, which I really appreciate of. So it has a new foreword, and it also has a new afterword by myself now, kind of reflecting now these years and giving more context again to an already pretty detailed journey, So I think people will really appreciate it. New cover. I love the new cover by my good sister Simone in Australia. Very good friend of mine from a long time. She did the first cover as well. So I felt it was only right for her to do this, and she made the time likewise, and she has done it. So that's that, and I'm working on another book too that I won't say too much about, but just that it centers a little bit around my creative process as a musical selector, and let's say the methodology of how I select music. So
talk to us about Bookman sound, Dutty Bookman sound, because you sit down on some artillery there, not normal. Talk to the people about your sound system life.
Yeah, in first of all, in reverence and respect to the real sound man them out there who build sound, I will never say I'm a sound man.
Okay. So very important. Yes.
Man, I don't have a sound system.
Yes.
I couldn't tell you how to connect the tweeter to the bass.
Okay.
I'm a selector.
Okay.
I don't even really like the term DJ because there are some really skilled DJs out there who do the mixing but I just really enjoy the craft of selecting music and lining up music for a purpose and building community around the selections that I select. So that's really what I would say my strength and my interest is in being a purveyor of music, you know.
Yeah, man, and you can go on SoundCloud and find some of those mixes. What's the handle on SoundCloud for the ones who want to go through the catalog?
The handle is Dutty Bookman, or I think for SoundCloud it might be Dutty Dash Bookman.
Okay.
But easy to find, you know. Just it will be obvious, you know. The reggae mixes and you know.
Yeah, man. One of my favorite, the Black Liberation. You know, I put it on May 25th all the time.
Yes.
That one's still a play. So definitely take in the Bookman selection. You can book Bookman for your session. You know, he's a favorite here in DC. You know, the promoters draw for him and him have him crowd and things. So and he definitely selects some songs where you don't hear, you know, in the vein of a Gabriel Selassie dub club kind of energy. You know, we're hearing some serious selection, message music, you know, and the eye could easily go hype. Why do you choose to just stay on that path of least travel?
Because and sometimes I try to mix in a little hype in recognition of sometimes a space that I'm in, you know.
Yes.
Or if I want to help promote some of the new stuff, which is fine. I don't knock all of that hype or anything.
Okay. So you're evolving as a DJ is what you're saying. You're balancing. Your personal...
and I don't DJ as much these days because of this. Since I moved from DC, that same community, that supportive community, doesn't really exist here, like in South Florida.
Okay.
It's more the people who would appreciate my style of music is more the elders them, and the elders them now go out like that for create any economical benefit out of it, you know. So
yeah.
It's just a new phase, but I like to play music that feed the spirit. You know, that's really what it is. So it end up being rooty, call it, end up being dub. Most of the time, that's when, if I have the right audience who understand what I'm doing, without me having to say what I'm doing, it becomes obvious and the energy is very high, you know. And that's why I like to go back to play in DC, because that's where I started out, you know. Really inspired and mentored by Gabriel Selassie as well, you know. So it's good that you call his name, because he was a very important person in why I select the way that I select.
Yeah, man, and we have to have Gabriel on that platform. Yeah, long time we know them Angel too. Same way. So we give thanks. I want to just kind of seal up the reasoning around the topic of the Black family. We talk about the economics, but even as we spoke a little bit earlier, I really see some of the value of the I tradition is really that family trad. And for younger brethren, I think I and I as married man don't talk enough, about the benefits. So the narrative about the gallus and the single man and, all of that is out there running wild, and you're hearing all of the benefits and the things. Nobody, you not really hear about the flaw them a little bit now. But married man, because, most of we happy. We just silent to ourselves. And and we're losing the PR war, We're losing the PR war because we're silent and we're happy, nice dinner cook and, your queen there and your queen and laugh. Yeah. But that's not helping any of the youth them to, I want the to talk about, the benefits of being a married man on the mission.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it beats loneliness, It beats loneliness.
Yeah, and that's serious. We laugh, but that is serious, because when someone who is there with you in your high time and low time, it makes a big difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so, loneliness is serious, because people do very strange things to avoid loneliness, So
yeah.
If you can really be with someone who has your best interests at heart, and you're not lonely is a plus. We'll continue.
Yeah. I don't know. What would I say is the benefits? And it's just the overall institution is a benefit, you know. I just know that it was something that was important to me. I'm not going to say I definitely recommend it for every man. That's their decision and whatever. But for me, I even from my young boyhood days, the same apartment building where I live, it used to be, you know, I think I was one of two boys in my generation. It was just all girl children, and them used to love play, you know, mommy and daddy, you know, and the same step beside my apartment. We used to have a little room, you know, so the top step was daddy room and me lie down on the step. And then the one who says she's mommy, she lie down on the next step. And then maybe her little sister says she is the child. I would just apply, you know, that was always me. And then as, you know, as I grew into adolescence, I was always like that monogamous kind of person. Like, you know, I guess people would say that, you know, I was a ladies' man or whatever, but I was never with more than one woman at a time. And it was just, you know, if there were periods where the relationships rotated quickly, it was just because I know what I want, and also the girl know what she want, and we say it's not we, and we move on, you know.
Okay,
So
that was very diplomatic. I applaud the eye for that diplomatic way of saying him know him, you know, him been through some life, him live some life.
yeah, honestly, you know, just
Yeah,
that's
you have to
just
be
it, you know.
honest. You have to be honest.
Yeah, that's just it. So
And that's also important because we don't want people to think that we were saints and
right,
you didn't have an evolution.
right. But anytime, you know, even from then, I treat the girl or whoever with respect, you know, and just is
Natural.
like genuinely putting my all to say, yo, this could be something, you know. That was just always me, you know.
Yes.
So yeah, I never get into anything without that possibility in the back of my mind that this could be the person, you know.
Yeah.
And so over time, just knowing different personalities and I guess being that kind of seasoned in that respect, it got easier and easier to tell when somebody is a waste of time and it don't even make sense getting a nothing with a girl. Or when you book up a Sasha and you say, okay, don't waste no time, you know?
How long was it before in your vetting process? How long before you know say, okay, Mama Sasha, I don't, you know,
Yeah.
lock in?
Not long, but I think we're just both doing our due diligence and
Yes.
making a few solid months pass, you know, before we
Yes.
jump into anything. Because like I said, neither of us were really interested in any relationship per se, but the connection was really made, you know. But fast forward to now, you know, the benefits of marriage for me, you know, I would say you or the benefits of, you know, living under one roof together. It's not easy all the time, but it is definitely an overall benefit and aggregate, you know, because for me, I get to be a part of my children's formative years.
Crucial.
You know, I know a few brethren who have the same love for their children that I have, but don't have the opportunity to be at home as much and be in their face and, you know, check them when them getting out of line and, you know, that kind of vibes, you know. So I think that's a great benefit for how I want my life to be able to be that close to my children throughout their childhood, you know. And for them to just have stability is important to me, knowing that this is my future. When I'm gone, they are carrying on essentially my DNA into this world, you know, and it will be their world to conquer. So and yeah, just to have the camaraderie of your wife, the person who is not afraid to tell you say you're chatting foolishness, and still love you while doing it. You know, next to your mother, that's the next person, you know.
Yeah, man.
So I definitely, what I would say to the men out there, young men, you know, more older men who want to really consider that kind of life, is just be prepared to have your ego tested, you know, because it's a partnership, you know. As Sasha tell me, you know, this is the revolution. Those are
Okay.
her words early out, you know, that the family is the revolution.
That is a fact.
Yeah.
I have a kingdom model that I use, but I'm interested about the partnership model that the eye is blocking.
Oh, yes.
Talk to
Well,
us.
yeah, man. And well, the thing is that you need two hands to clap. One hand can't clap.
Yes.
So I know I have an idea of what I am gonna say. You know, I think that a lot of men uh, feel that the man is the undisputed head of the household, and all final decisions must go through him. And to an extent, I agree, but not with that. I don't know, not with that kind of energy, not with like, I don't believe in that what's the word I'm looking for? Authoritarian.
Authoritarian,
Yeah, that kind
which
of
I
thing.
think
Dictatorial.
a wise king is going to follow wise counsel. So
Yes.
you know, if your queen is more knowledgeable in the area, then you would be foolish to
Right.
make a decision in that area where the queen, you know, carries the knowledge. So I don't want one's misconstrue, you know,
Yeah.
what we're talking about when we say kingdom. But you know, because I talk to the young brethren them about establishing your kingdom as a king,
Yes.
and the vetting of your queen, and you know whether you know what I observe, you know, is more um, kingdom from the eye, but you know I understand what the eye is saying in terms of a partnership, because the queen is not reigning from behind. Empress Menen is by I and I side, you know what I mean? But ultimately, you know, what I tell Bridget is that we can't put our woman out there on the front line for go fight our fight, and you know, me not in that that version there, you know what I mean? Yes, Title was there for fight the battle, but we know depend on Title for go win battle for we and
Yeah.
we's man, you know what I mean? How has Mama Sasha helped the in the mission and the business? You know, I want, you know, make this very practical so ones can see, you know, how, because I think also once you're on your purpose, it's essential to have a queen, you know, for a brethren on, because if you're dealing with vetting all these women all the time, it's very time consuming to do it correctly. You know what I mean? Which is gonna then take away from the mission. You also open yourself up to diverse energies. Right now we have people that practice witchcraft open, you know, them just, you know, the thing wild out a road, out a street right now. So when you're letting all these people into your energy, you know what I mean, as a brethren on the mission, you know, you open yourself up to all kind of scenarios. So I think having a queen is critical for brethren who are on a mission, on a purpose to fulfill. But how, you know, just practically speaking, as Mama Sasha, because I know the answer, but I think, as I say, we as married people have to vocalize these things so that people can, you know, can become part of the discussion, because we don't talk about these things and we're not seeing the outcomes. I see a lot of single parent families within Ras Tafari. I see a lot of the same problems in Babylon. And as I say, the ones I see successful, we're not talking. You know what I mean? So I'm here to break
Yeah.
that bond, you know, that is holding us. So talk to us about what Mama Sasha do.
She does everything. She does everything. You understand? So you know, let's say even just for the company Bookman Express. You know, I said it a couple of times, but resources are generally tight. And yes, I would love to have even a a devoted business manager who believes in the cause and understands what it's like to work in the book industry, which is a very difficult industry to make your way in. But you know, we may not have that amount of resources to pay that person who we need for that sustained period to grow the company in the way that we need. And Sasha is somebody who has her own career and still makes the time to have Bookman Express meetings and to help organize notes, sitting on meetings that we have with different authors or whatever. And then, you know, let me know that I'm working too slow on this task or the other task, and just kind of let me know, say, yeah, get cracking, you know. So little things like that is very important, you know, for me.
Accountability partner.
Yeah, accountability is definitely the thing, you know. So she has been that for me for sure, and I'm sure will continue to be that, you know. All while and then in general too, just like how she helps to raise the children is very important, you know. I come across situations where I have observed situations where a man and him queen are just not in sync, you know, and you know how she is raising or how she is influencing the children is probably not how him would have influenced the children. And I've been fortunate in that in general, Sasha and I have the same belief system in how children are to be raised. And wherever the differences lie, they're really minor, and we allow each other the leeway to have our even separate conversations with the children. So the children understand, all right, mommy think this, but daddy think that. And we will, you know, we see the merits of both arguments, and as we grow, we will know how we're making our way in the world. And that's good. It's a controlled environment where they get different viewpoints as well, but all with the same general direction of growth, you know. So I think that's one of the great benefits when you have that queen who you align with, and that's why it's important to choose the right one, you know.
That is so critical. And you know, as I said, when I was doing the editing process, Bookman do a edit, Mama Sasha's there. So when we're talking about having a queen that is in alignment, and Mama Sasha was obviously supporting the mission that I had. Likewise, and I know a lot of these things because my queen do the same thing for I. You know what I mean? Anytime I want to make sure I do something, I just tell Shireen if I don't want to do it, I don't talk, because once once I got the sound, you know, follow up, you know, that name follow up. You understand?
Yeah.
And as brethren, we need that balance in your life. You need that balance. So when we say kingdom, it's not domination. We don't want create that kind of vibration, but we want to establish, because I think we're lacking because we have so many fatherless homes.
Yes.
We're almost afraid of male leadership and what that represents in the Black community, and it's so much needed right now, especially when we're going into a time of war. You know, this is why when you look at Ethiopian society leading up to the Battle of Adwa, you see it's very male centric. They would call it patriarchal because you carry your father's name, you know, as a definition.
Yes.
So when people are born out patriarchy, I always ask question, because is the patriarchy system that sustained I against colonialism, you know, the throne of Solomon. Solomonic dynasty is what, you know, stand predominant to this time.
Yes.
So we have to just careful how we characterize it. And I am a big advocate for that on this channel, male leadership. We have a thing called the Ras Tafari Man Standard, where we're just doing a series and we're talking about what is a Ras Tafari man. There have to be a standard that's created, because we see the watering down over the centuries as we move away from ones like Ras Iris generation who went through the persecution. You know, right now a man can just go online and watch 2 videos and him just say, you know, me a bongo this, and this and that, and we don't know. You're typing in all the groups, and take time to answer you, and you don't know what. So we need some kind of structure, and that is really one of the things that I'm advocating right now. And if you look at all societies, there are rites of passage, different things for the youths, because we're not retaining a lot of Rastafari youths because we don't have that structure. They will come back when they're older. We see a lot of youths, but I want to save them some of that trauma, from that discovery period, or minimize or mitigate some of that the world have out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want to just thank the Bookman because of taking the time to reason with I and I. It's so important we have these discussions, and Bookman is family, so I can comfortably have these conversations. Cause I know most of the answer them already, because I see how the brethren live, and that is why I always, highlight the brethren works and thing, because to I, that is the most Rastafari thing that we can do right now, is to maintain the black family. You know what I mean, and to be true to that liberty of man, woman, and child, because it's under assault right now. So we give thanks for the eye. Before the eye, Chad, what future books you have in mind? What's the future of Bookman Express? Where is the eye taking the brand?
Yeah, we're still thinking through that, so I don't want to say too much now. I've learned from past experiences that sometimes I say too much in interviews and then have to revisit, and then that out there already, I may have to go negate that now. So, but I just want it to be something that adds, at the root of it adds something special to the Pan-African diaspora. That's what the catalog is about. When you carry in the name of Bookman, connected to the legacy of the Haitian Revolution, you're talking about African diaspora benefit, So that is really the root of it spiritually for me, and so even in the children's arm, it may not be always books that's baking in information about the history or whatever, but even something as simple as just encouraging, black joy and imagination is revolutionary in this time, because the youths them are assaulted and beset by so many traps and snares, So just to have them live out a joyful youth experience is a great start for that generation, So, little things like that. It may not always look obviously revolutionary, but at the end of the day, on an aggregate, the catalog of Bookman Express will be advancing and helping the black people of the world, Africans.
Yes, and the revolution have to include black fiction. You know what I mean? On all levels, because we look at what Walt Disney has been for the Western world and the Western world view. That has been kind of the citadel of ideas in terms of the Western world. Where is our Pan-African Disney? That's my vision for the Lion Voice. We want to build a production company on the continent to pump out all of that type of content.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To tell the stories in different formats, similar to what a Walt Disney company is doing. You know what I mean? And Rastafari have to have that. We have to have that from our unique worldview, because these ones have their, although you might not see, as Bookman saying, each work, their entire catalog encompasses, their worldview. You have Marvel, you have the gods like Thor, Odin. That's how they keep these mythologies alive to their children. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where is our Shango and this and that? I'm writing a fiction book right now, getting ready for drop too. That includes some of these characters. So, but so I understand what the eye is saying in terms of books like Ian Takes Flight, and it's a beautiful book. If you haven't, if you have children, buy the book. Dealing with black joy, black imagination. And we want to see more of them books, because black spaces, black children seeing themselves, as you say, is revolutionary. So I love though that you have really crystallized, you know, the name Dutty Bookman and the mission of Bookman Express. You know what I mean? I love that. That you're vocalizing that in the way that the eye is vocalizing it, and you know, we are definitely going to support the eye as this platform grows, which it will grow and continue to grow. We're going to make sure that we highlight Bookman Express. I chose purposely to publish with the eye. I could have gone elsewhere, but they said no. You know, it's I and I. This generation have to build each other. So you know, we're going to continue to push the eye. And I'm asking everyone who watched this, we have 4 people here live, but this will get hundreds of views on the channel. We're asking everyone just go and buy at least one book from, it don't have to be Iman book. You know what I mean? It don't have to be Iman book. Buy one. Lion Pride, we're about circulating the black dollar, the Rastafari dollar, the Pan-African dollar. If we want an alternative to Babylon, it's going to have to be self-funded. So make sure everyone, tell them the website, Bookman.
Yeah, the website is BookmanExpress.pub. So pub is, you know, publishing,
Definitely.
abbreviated. So BookmanExpress.pub.
So I'm gonna reason with Bookman in a strong, and him supposed to tell me, say, yeah man, 400 books sell off of the web. I want to see the power of the Lion Pride. It could be just I talking to myself, you know. I mean, just call people Lion Pride and them a look at me like Ras, it not work, you know. I want to see if Lion Pride have any ability today. We are test out the Lion Pride right now. Buy even one book, brethren and sistren. Go to Bookman Express, look in the catalog, buy one of the books, make we circulate African dollars. You see, is going to a powerful black family. This is how we have to be thinking in this time. We want to see some economics move anytime I and I come together at the same time. So any final word sound, Bookman, anything that I want to highlight, anything that I want to tell the world?
Yeah, man, I just want to, first of all, you know, give thanks again for having me on the platform. I've been inspired by its growth. I know it from it was an idea.
Yes.
I see that I, in typical the jazz match Kwasi fashion, set out to work, lock in and deal with the thing. And I know in the same breath, I have to big up Mama Shireen, because I know how much work she put in to make this a possibility. And yeah, give thanks for, you know, the various collaborations we have had and the many more to come, you know. And yeah, look out for some exciting things. I think that we have some exciting programming coming up that I'll speak more on my own channels like Instagram, coming up in the Miami area, particularly during Art Basel.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to announcing, you know, that. And yeah, man, more works to come as always. So
and go and follow Dutty Bookman on IG. Follow Bookman Express on IG. Give them the follow, fill out so they get your email. And I just want to be very clear right now. Make sure the content creators you support have your email. So, you know, people are being deplatformed, they're being banned. Once we have your email, then we can lock in no matter what the platform. So make sure go in, sign up, subscribe on to Bookman Express so you can get the newsletters, the email blast. We're building out a ecosystem for Rastafari. Yes, we started the Lion Voice Network, but this is just a piece of the puzzle. We still have art there growing. The email list, the IG, the platform is growing. We still have IDOR, the platform is growing. We still have Habisha. We're going to be doing some stuff on Habisha. So everything is a part of this bigger ecosystem. The Lion Voice Network is just a portal where you can lock in and see what is happening. Why would you want to see what's happening, you ask? Because the time has come for the Lions to tell our own story. And this is Lion Voice.
I want to say greetings, this is Kabanka Pyramid representing the Lion Voice vlog. Make sure that them check it out and stay tuned. See? Ras Tafari blessings every time.
Nice. Well, Lion Voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion Voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion Voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion Voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion Voice. Well, this is the Chaz match, Kwasi.